Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rebuttal podcast, where we break down case law, calamity, and of course, chaos in the legal field. I am once again your host, Reb Maisel. This is the Sasquatch legal case episode. This is the episode where I talk about all of the recent and not so recent and crazy and a little unpredictable Sasquatch related cases that have happened around the country, sometimes around the world. If you didn't know this, legal cases, for whatever reason, involve Sasquatch, are related to Sasquatch, relate to disputes about Sasquatch and his or her or their existence more often than you would ever think. And I mentioned this in a video on TikTok, and everyone said, wait a minute, that's just one case about Sasquatch? You mean there's more? And I said, of course there is. And here is the podcast episode on it. So, get out your long lens cameras and be ready to shoot some Sasquatch, but not literally shoot, because in some states that's very illegal. Yes, I swear. We are just going to go down rapid fire, okay? If you don't mind. It's just going to be, hey, random case after random case, Sasquatch related. Some very different from one another, some that look a little bit similar, okay? Because indeed a lot of people who are such firm believers in Sasquatch, they've turned it into some sort of religion, right? As people do when they can't see things that they know are there. Yeah, they are filing some lawsuits sometimes against the state on behalf of Squatch's rights. Can I call him Squatch? Her, they, I don't know. I don't know if we're on that first name basis yet, if we're on a nickname basis yet. I don't know if we know each other that well, if we're that tight. Okay. But by the end of this episode, I'm hoping that we are. Okay, Miss Squatch. Perfect. I will preface this, okay, as the little intro for people who give a fuck about me. If you don't give a fuck about me, fair enough. Skip to when the cases begin. All right. I have had the most raging headache all day. I feel like my skull is pounding out of my face. I also, coupled with that, I've been nauseous. And I know people are like, oh, like that's a migraine. People who describe migraines where like nausea is involved literally are like, this sound starts ringing in my ear and then spins around me and then I pass out and then I throw up. Like, I don't want to be lumped in with like the soldiers and survivors of that shit, because like that's not really happening. Obviously I wouldn't be here right now. I couldn't even have like lights on in a room if I were in that condition, as those people can attest to. Like they have to call it, like it's literally a disability. I will just say that I feel personally that I'm God's strongest soldier, of course, in the influencer world, category 5 influencer hurricane, that I am, because usually when I have a fat fucking headache and I'm nauseous all day, the very last thing I want to do is speak, right? Like you're nauseous, you just want to like close your mouth and lay down in a dark room. And I posted the fuck up with lights, 2 fucking lights in my face right now. Literally yapping for y'all because you guys requested this episode and I'm doing it. So, I want all of you to break out a violin for me, the world's smallest, and start playing it, please, because I feel like I am a strong soldier in, privileged white girl speak. Oh, you mean you had to film an episode of your podcast when you had a headache? Wow. Yeah, I want the condescension and all. Where are my violins? I need them. So if you are watching on YouTube, by the way, you are probably seeing a very different angle of my office than you typically do. That is because this side of the office looks so diabolically insane, you would think I were a hoarder. If there was a hotline for reporting hoarders, you would call it. You would say, oh my God, wait, she has an Achilles heel. Like we thought she was so great and perfect and awesome. Well, I am great and perfect and awesome, obviously. But I just decided one day, right, I woke up and said, I need to clean out all of my closets, plural, that have just so many clothes in them and get this shit figured out. And so that pretty much meant dumping everything that I don't immediately wear every single day onto this bed in my office slash second bedroom. So it's literally piled very high, and that needs to be dealt with. And it was not going to be dealt with before I filmed this. So there you have it. Enjoy this other view. This stuff you see at the bottom, ignore. Thank you so much. Perfect. Let's start this case. Case number 1, Sasquatch related, Bigfoot related, we are going to go through is the one that I mentioned in my TikTok video. But if you've already seen the TikTok video, like, this is still interesting because I kind of just go more in depth than I did when I was making my matcha in that video, all right, a few days ago. So hopefully you enjoy it. Okay, perfect, bye. This is a case from February of 2025. Okay, this court opinion. It is called Finn Bogason versus Norseman. It is from British Columbia. That is where we're located. That's where we're based. This is all a case related to spousal support. A husband in this scenario, okay, is filing a claim, has filed a claim for support to receive money from his ex-wife pursuant to their divorce, okay, post-divorce, because he's like, hey, like, I'm owed, some alimony or like whatever, okay? I need some support here. And this court opinion got some news, got some buzz, because it seems pretty mundane when you look at it. You're like, okay, the court says yes or no and blah, blah, blah. But then you start getting into the nitty-gritty, the knitter-gritter, and you're like, oh, this is so British Columbia insane. As some people in my comments mentioned, they were like, oh, this is the most like remote, backwoods British Columbia like thing ever. This is like common, dime a dozen. And I'm like, no, I'm sure, but it'll make you giggle. So here we go. The parties, background. The parties, the husband and wife, had been married for 20 years before separating in August 2020. Pretty long time, okay? The opinion notes that in 1999, there was an accident involving the husband, Mr. Finn Bogason. I'm just gonna call him husband because, again, I have a fucking headache and I can't. I'm sorry to Mr. Finn Bogason. You are now husband, capital H. But he's the ex-husband. I don't care. It's too many syllables. God bless. He was severely burned in this 1999 accident. And as a result of this accident, he received some settlement money, okay? Like, you are injured, you will be compensated, you will be put back into the position you were in before. Okay, here's some cash. And he used that resulting settlement to open an illegal marijuana growing operation in British Columbia. Okay, illegal, especially at that time, for sure. 1999, early 2000s, no. Sadly, quote, he never saw any return on this investment as the operation was shut down by the police before he could get a crop out. After that, his more legitimate business efforts just never took off. I'm not sure what they were. I'm not sure if they were hampered by his burn injuries, okay, from that 1999 accident. We don't really know, but whatever the reason, he provided no evidence that he earned any income after 2015. I'm not even sure what he did before 2015. Know that it's not relevant for the story that we have here. Thank you so much. In January 2016, the claimant, the husband, suffered another unfortunate injury, this time caused by a slip and fall on icy stairs outside of a hotel in Seward, British Columbia. Seward is way up on the northeast coast of Vancouver Island, quite a distance from the couple's home in Mission, British Columbia, which is east of Vancouver City on the mainland. Why was the husband there, you ask? He was in that remote part of Vancouver Island on one of his many expeditions in search of Sasquatch, of whose existence he claims to be certain. That is a legitimate quote from the opinion. Yes, dead serious. And at the time when this accident happened, okay, during the slip and fall situation, right? Because you don't just like slip and fall and then they just like feed you cash. There were legal proceedings that resulted from that. Obviously, the reason why he was at the hotel is irrelevant for purposes of like getting a slip and fall cash settlement. Like, it's just, who gives a fuck? Like, I slipped and I fell. Your stairs were fucked. Like, who knows? Okay. But I do appreciate that the lawyers asked regardless and whatever depot there was, okay? Because getting that on paper is just something of beauty. And literally they were like, so why were you up here? It seems so far away. And he was like, obviously I was fucking hunting Sasquatch, you morons. You aren't. And the lawyer said, perfect, amazing. Nope, that's all I wanted from you. Here's your money. Thank you so much. We're going to frame this transcript in about 3 seconds or send it to this girl on TikTok who reads them. God bless. The court's February 2025 opinion, okay, of which this case is based on and the story is based on, does discuss the parties' decision to separate in 2020. It discusses the reason, and this is it. The husband's evidence was that the separation occurred mostly because the wife did not want to move to Vancouver Island, as has been his plan for several years. The wife told the court, however, the judge, that it followed her discovery that over the August 2020 long weekend, and without her knowledge or approval, the husband and his ex-girlfriend had gone off on a camping trip together on Vancouver Island, once again on a Sasquatch finding excursion. Again, not relevant, but somehow still super relevant in a second. It became directly relevant to the court's ruling on spousal support. The husband contended that he was entitled to significant support because he was totally functionally incapacitated due to his past injuries. The court decided that, in fact, he was entitled to no support, $0, zilch, zip, nothing. There was a number of reasons for this. First, he had provided the court with no current independent medical or other persuasive evidence to support the claim, which seems pretty conclusive. Like, that's enough to be like, yeah, no, you don't. Like, you cannot say that you can't get a job and then provide no support as to why. But the court, God bless BC, British Columbia, not even America, okay? The court went on. The court noted the husband's, quote, testimony about his hobby, his new hobby, okay? Sasquatch hobby, that is old. That's tried and true, baby, okay? He is not new to this. He is true to this. He has a newfound hobby in addition to the Sasquatch thing of buying tractors and fixing them up for resale. That's an extremely expensive hobby, and he's not good at it. And so the court noted, like, hey, like, you're just like buying shit and never selling it back. Like, you're never like reselling it. That's a bit of a problem. And also the fact that you're even able to like resell, like fix them up doesn't really help out the whole, oh, I'm totally and permanently incapacitated, quote unquote, argument. And also noting that, yeah, so none of these ventures, like none of this hobby shit, alleged income that you're making or not making, who fucking knows, has appeared on your tax returns. So like several issues, right? Like, so like, why did you even fucking tell me that kind of, you know what I mean? Like, hey, like you should have kept that under wraps. Okay, perfect. But this was not the only evidence, okay, of the husband kind of being useless and like the court basically saying, hey babes, Indeed.com is in your future. You should go on it and make an account and start submitting some resumes. The court said, quote, I, meaning the judge, also heard evidence from the claimant and his own witnesses that casts substantial doubt on his claim of total functional incapacity. In addition to his tractor rebuilding activities, the claimant continues to enjoy camping, fishing, hunting, riding quad motorcycles, and exploring remote areas of British Columbia in search of Sasquatch. Indeed, it had come out that he had not only been searching for Sasquatch with his ex for forever, and the wife kept asking him, hey, do you mind stopping that shit? And he was like, no, I need to find Sasquatch, babes. She was like, what the fuck? Like, you're going with your ex? He was like, she's an expert. I don't know. Okay, I'm making that shit up, but like, about the expert thing, but like, Lord knows what excuses he was pulling out of his butt. Okay. But he was doing it so much, hunting for Sasquatch so much. And it's not like a euphemism for something else. Literally, he's literally hunting for Sasquatch. It's not like, oh, like that's what all the kids say when they want to find drugs, when they want to do fentanyl in the woods. No, like literally he was looking for the big man that's fuzzy. That's what he was doing. He did this so often as a job that was making $0, right? That he went at least 10 times a year. It required camping and hiking and provisions and shooting guns at literally ghosts, okay? He did that 10 times a year, and by the time that this court opinion came out, it was February, he had already gone, I think it was like 5 times, and it was only February. So the judge basically said, hey, your disability claim is undermined by evidence of your repeated Sasquatch hunts. That is a headline. Find a job. Jobless behavior. Okay, period. And that's where our Sasquatch chronicles begin. Next one. Why would you kill someone? What is the reason why you would take another person's life? People have come up with all sorts of excuses or answers or justifications for that. And one that came out in 2022 was that someone said, hey, no, it's totally fine for me to have killed this person because that person had already summoned Bigfoot to kill me first. This is self-defense, Your Honor. And with that, this case begins. The news reported in 2022 that police had arrested a 53-year-old man in connection with a bizarre weekend homicide case in Pontotoc, Pontotoc County, Oklahoma, in the southeast part of the state. According to the Oklahoma Bureau of Investigation, the suspect and another man, quote, had been noodling in the river on Saturday when a confrontation ensued. Now, the local news report presents this statement without further explanation, obviously assuming, probably correctly, that locals will know what noodling is. If you don't know what noodling is, it's not a euphemism for something not safe for work, okay? It is, in fact, the practice of obtaining catfish by sticking your arm in an underwater hole, waiting for the fish to bite down on it, and then hopefully dragging it back out of the hole intact. And the fish, like, you literally a strong arm a big fish. Okay, people do it all the time. The water is extremely muddy and murky and opaque in every video I've ever seen of someone doing it. Look it up. They're all over TikTok. And for that, I say that's terrifying to me. I don't really like not being able to see shit, okay, coming at me. But it is really cool. And I think it's, it's a skill like anything else. You know what I mean? So they're noodling together, okay? However you want to interpret that. Adorable, amazing date, or just a bunch of bros. Noodling, okay? Yeah, we're going noodling. How do you make that sound tough? We're gonna go grab some nudes. Even worse, even worse. So, contrary to what some might believe, it is perfectly legal in Oklahoma for two men to noodle together as long as they have the right permits. You'll be surprised to know that it isn't clear exactly what made this noodling excursion turn ugly, but it is clear why the matter escalated, or at least it's clear what the suspect said about why it escalated, according to the sheriff. Quote, his statement was that the other man had summoned Bigfoot to come and kill him. That's why he had to kill him first. This is pretty unlikely, even though there is plenty of evidence that big feet can be found in Oklahoma. And by evidence, of course, I mean literal legally defined evidence, okay? It was just last year that Oklahoma HB 1648 was on the table. It was a bill that would have required the Oklahoma Wildlife Conservation Commission to regulate Bigfoot hunting in the state. I kid you not. That bill, which does not seem to have passed as of 2022, was introduced by the representative for State District 19, which is also in the southeast part of that state. And I don't think that's a coincidence. Even more compelling is the fact that this area is only a couple of 100 miles from Fouke, Arkansas. Is that how you spell it? Fouke, Arkansas. Troubled for decades by the Boggy Creek monster, and the setting of the classic film The Legend of Boggy Creek, which I vaguely remember scared the shit out of me when I first saw it. I think it was part of a class that I was in. Certainly, no one would create a docudrama without solid evidence that crypto hominids roamed the area, but regardless, legal issues have arisen, and it has forced somebody in the Oklahoma legislature to say, we need to stop this shit now with respect to the feet that are big, the big feet, okay? Yeah, there is no evidence, and can be no evidence presented in court that we know of, at least, that a Bigfoot, Mr. Bigfoot, Mrs. Non-binary Bigfoot, can be summoned to do one's evil bidding. But yeah, the sheriff did note, I know this might come as a shock to you all, huge, sit down while you're listening to this, because it's really going to knock the wind out of your sails. The sheriff did note that the suspect, quote, appeared to be under the influence of something when they made the self-defense claim. I know. I can't believe it either. It sounds super sane and rational and super like a good defense. But yeah, that's what that guy is going with. Hopefully it works out for him. Spoiler alert, it didn't. The man was charged with killing his friend during a noodling expedition in Oklahoma, despite his claim of self-defense as a result of his friend summoning Bigfoot to kill him. So he obviously had to kill the friend first, before Bigfoot could show up and collect on his due, his rent, his fee for killing people. I don't know how it works either, but that's what he said, okay? The trial of 55-year-old Larry Doyle Sanders Sr. began on April 16th, 2024, and somehow lasted into a second day. And it did not end well for the defendant. There was never any doubt that Sanders killed the victim, partly because he confessed to it almost immediately. His daughter, in fact, testified that he confessed repeatedly when he got home. She wasn't sure how many times. More than 5, the prosecutor asked. Oh yeah, she replied emphatically, adding that he didn't seem remorseful about what had happened. According to the report, the daughter testified she did not have a good relationship with her father. All right. The Deadbeat Dad Chronicles continue. It continues. The real questions were, why did he do that? And is that a good reason? An agent who interrogated Sanders the day after the crime testified that Sanders had been eager to speak with him, proceeded to tell him fantastical things about Bigfoot. The agent claimed Sanders told him the victim acted suspiciously, such as when he yelled or howled into a tin horn, which Sanders interpreted as a call to Bigfoot to come and eat him. Oh, this has layers. This is specific. obsessed. If he didn't kill the victim, Sanders reportedly told the agent, quote, then he would have been killed, presumably by a Sasquatch. That's what the police officer claimed, right? Police officers say a lot of things all the time that might not be true. Okay, as we've learned through this episode or through this podcast all the damn time. Okay, don't believe what they say. But it doesn't really matter because Sanders said all of that and more on the witness stand. Yep, he took the stand in his own defense, which you don't see often, probably because it's usually 99.999% of the time a terrible idea. Terrible idea. I apologize in advance for getting my words tangled. Again, I have a headache. Baby me. I don't know. Apologies in advance, all right? Yes, in what the report describes as a, quote, surprise move and against his attorney's advice, shocker, Sanders took the stand in his own defense. He pretty much confirmed the agent's story about Sasquatch, adding details that will just make the story more complicated, but will not actually help him at all and hurt him only, okay? Among other things, Sanders expanded on the victim's, quote, suspicious behavior. For example, he took a phone call, walked away from Sanders, and would occasionally look over his shoulder while doing so. That would be enough for me, but according to Sanders, more oddities followed after the two men arrived at the river where they planned to noodle. He noticed that rocks in the area displayed American Indian carvings, quote unquote, and said it made him uncomfortable to be in a sacred area. Above these rocks, Sanders noticed a tin horn, though there was no reason for it to be there as it had no purpose. Nearby, he saw someone in fatigues who appeared to be a National Guardsman. Just then, the victim, quote, howled while standing close to the tin horn, an action Sanders described as using, quote, just a wailing lungful of air. Not long after this, Sanders saw a 12-foot tall Sasquatch about 50 yards away with its toe in the water, its piggy dipping. Asked whether he had alerted the victim to the Sasquatch's presence, Sanders replied, quote, I'm pretty sure he was aware of it, which, he implied, was how he knew it would arrive when summoned. Sanders claimed he later saw two other creatures, also presumably Sasquatches, plural, in the area as well. He interpreted all of this evidence as a plot against him. He said on the stand under oath, hence the need for self-defense. There are a lot of claims you can make to absolutely, prevail on a claim for self-defense, especially in a murder case. Okay, oh my God. Not everyone's actions are necessarily criminal to a prison sentence type of degree, even when it results in the ending of a life, because sometimes it's literally you or them, yada yada. We get it, all right? That's why the claim of self-defense works or exists. But unfortunately, the judge did find Sanders guilty of first-degree murder. So there is that. The Sasquatches, if his story is true, are still out there. So if you believe him, keep your eyes peeled. Next case. In 2018, Claudia Ackley of California has had enough of California's discrimination against her and her fellow Bigfoot researchers and has filed a lawsuit that, if granted, would force state agencies to recognize the existence of the species she calls, quote, Gigantohorridus hominoid and or Gigantopithecus, aka Bigfoot, aka Sasquatch. Amazing. The San Bernardino Sun reported on February 12, 2018, that Ackley claimed to have encountered a Bigfoot or three whilst hiking near Lake Arrowhead. It was on March 27, 2017, about dusk, when the drama allegedly began. Ackley and her 11 and 14-year-old daughters were hiking the winding trail when Ackley's daughters, several yards ahead, froze in their tracks, gazing wide-eyed at a large, shadowy figure braced in a pine tree. Ackley ran to her daughters to see what they were staring at. I ran into a Sasquatch, a Bigfoot, Ackley told the Sun. We were face to face. He was 30 feet up in the tree. You were face to face with something 30 feet up in a tree. I don't want to call inconsistencies here, Your Honor, but pick one. Maybe she's a tall lady. Tall girls rise, okay? I support tall women's rights and wrongs. So I'll give this to her if she's above 5'8". Amazing. In any event, Ackley claims to have been pretty close to this thing, so what did it look like? She says, quote, the creature was barrel-chested with a head 3 times the size of a human's and appeared to weigh about 800 pounds. Amazing, perfect, gorgeous. Quote, he looked like a Neanderthal man with hair all over him. He had solid black eyes. He had no expression on his face at all. He did not show his teeth. He just stared at the three of us, said Ackley. She said she made a howling whoop sound, and the creature in the tree reacted by rocking back and forth, shaking branches. Right. Because that's what you do when you're in the wild with your children and there could be bears afoot. You just say whoop, whoop. I don't know. Maybe I'm being mean. I mean, what would you do? I guess you're trying to scare it away. That's fair. Black bears are the ones where, you got to get big and pretend like, you're one of them, because then it'll back off. Brown bears, you got to lay the fuck down and play dead, or it's gonna get you if you even try to move and try to scare it. For sure, you will be dead. Yeah. What is it? Brown get down, black attack. Yeah, that's all I know about bear attacks. It's terrifying. I haven't even been able to see in full the scene in The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio where like the bear attack scene. I don't know what it is. I don't mind shark attacks, alligator attacks, snake attacks, bugs, spiders, critters like that. Like seeing that on screen, like that doesn't bother me. Even like seeing like snakes don't freak me out. I don't know. Living in California, it's like rattlesnakes are around. Like yeah, I'd be like, if I saw a shark, I'd be like, that's get me the fuck out of here, holy fuck. But it's not like I'm like so paralyzingly scared. Bear attack to me, I genuinely like cannot, like, because like you got no chance, like I got no shot, like I got nothing. A shark, I can at least poke its eyeballs. Bears, whatever. Maybe this is so stupid and someone's gonna write a long droning comment in the YouTube comment section about what you're supposed to do and why they're actually not scary and why they never happen. I know they never happen. They don't happen that often, but like it still freaks me out because I respect bears. You know what I mean? I respect them. They're cute and I respect them. I really want to pet one, but you shouldn't. Legal advice. Don't pet a bear. There you go. Anyways, Ackley, in addition to her, completely separate and apart even from her seeing a Sasquatch, she also is like, oh, by the way, I am a Sasquatch expert. It's like, oh, like what a coincidence, right? Like crazy that the Sasquatch expert, people who are like, my job is to find Sasquatch, suddenly see them everywhere. Really weird, okay? This is a quote from the article. Near another tree sits a discarded tire where Ackley leaves snacks for Sasquatch. Apples, oranges, Fritos, and a can of Coca-Cola, along with a voice-activated book with pictures inside made by Ackley in an effort to communicate with Bigfoot. Ackley recorded words such as candy and fur, along with pictures or samples of each taped to the pages. We think they have a language, as people have recorded them actually speaking, said Ackley. No, they haven't. I'm trying to teach them a little bit of our language to communicate with them. So it's a lot like the movie Arrival, only stupider, right? Like an alien kind of thing. Like let's get to the linguistics. Let's get back to basics. Let's go back to like the Bob Books, the Dora the Explorer type beat. You know what I mean? Look, I was hooked on phonics as well, but this is just like a level of psychosis that I personally would love to get to later in life once I've done everything that I want to do. Okay, because it just seems fun, right? Like again, living in a high fantasy world. I'm not making fun of this woman for believing in something that like has a very low chance of existing. It's just like a fact. Like there are a bunch of dudes somewhere like dressing up as Bigfoot and like fucking with these people, and they're leaving them literally in response. These people are leaving them like fucking hooked on phonics books and being like, let's hear a language. Let's teach some let's do an olive branch. I mean, the capacity for human time wasting really knows no limit. And that's what I like too, because sometimes like the greatest inventions, sometimes pretty much almost all of our greatest inventions and discoveries have come from people who had nothing but time to fucking waste. It's only not wasted when the end result is something useful or something good or something money making to people. So I guess everything's subjective, right? And if she was having a jolly good time and wasn't hurting anybody, then great. Was the time really wasted? No, of course not. But she definitely did file a fucking lawsuit because she basically called the State Department of Fish and Wildlife and was like, hey, like there's fucking Sasquatch. And they were like, hey, babes, you saw a bear. So sorry about that. Definitely bears around. Bears occur. And she was like, the fact that you're not believing me is causing me emotional distress. So that's like a problem. And so she sued them and said, hi, like you refuse to acknowledge the overwhelming evidence in favor of Bigfoot's existence in violation of their, quote, mandate to manage the state's ecological resources, which like is their mandate, but like overwhelming evidence in favor of Bigfoot's existence. That is what we would like to call a big reach. Okay. Bigfoot, big reach. So yeah, the update on that's a little sad, I guess, is she voluntarily dismissed the case for unknown reasons. Like she just like withdrew it. Like that's it. Okay. After like it got a bunch of buzz. So people are like, oh, maybe it was just a publicity stunt. And then she ended up passing away like not long after of, I believe it was cancer or something like that, which is super tragic. And, making light of the lawsuit that she filed is in no way like making light of like, oh, like she's literally the dumbest person in the world. Like, of course, like she's not the dumbest person in the world. She has passion for something. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's kind of like, the bean soup theory that people talk about where these days where it's like, if you tweet or post a video about anything or talk about anything online where you're like, hey, like, here's this recipe for a bean soup. And like everyone in the comments will be like, but what if I hate beans? And what if I don't want to use this ingredient? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, then that's not for you. Like, it's literally not fucking for you. Then don't fucking make the bean soup. You can't be included in everything then. Like, just scroll. Like, holy fuck. Like, you know, like everything I just has, what about meism is just so crazy. And I do feel like, you know, the people who would be super offended at me making light of like a fucking lawsuit trying to get the state of California to recognize the existence of Bigfoot, is super offensive and not okay simply because the woman ultimately passed away from unrelated circumstances after. Like, this episode itself is not for you. This podcast is not for you anyway. And I feel like I don't even make light of people's, and like, I feel like, yeah, quote unquote, like this is a true crime podcast in the sense that like some of the things that we talk about are crimes, but if you're gonna yell at people, if you're gonna yell at me over, you know, not making fun, I guess, but like not respecting the dead, you should yell at like every other fuck ass podcast talking about murder cases in the Idaho 5, whatever. Like, oh my God. They will say whatever about every victim, about everything, about the most heinous, bloody, gory cases with real victims and real families of victims. That's all wrong and false and glorifying it. And it's in between a fuck ass BetterHelp ad and like, right? Like, don't yell at me first because I don't do that. And I don't do that on purpose, okay? Let me have my time. Next case. Amazing. Provinces. Now, this is Canada, okay? Loving Canada so far. Canada and the US. Canada and the US. Bigfoot, baby. Woo! A lawsuit was filed in Canada by a Todd Standing. His name is Todd Standing. Okay, last name is Standing. I'm not talking about legal standing. His last name is Standing. He is a self-proclaimed Sasquatch tracker. This is in 2018. And coincidentally, the director of, quote, Discovering Bigfoot, a documentary. He claims it's a documentary. Is it a documentary of Bigfoot? Is a fantasy? I would say yeah, maybe. I don't know. Todd Standing in British Columbia is complaining that a government fish and wildlife agency is ignoring evidence of Bigfoot existing. And doing that is a violation of their duty to protect the area's ecological resources. So pretty much the same exact lawsuit that was filed by our girl, Claudia Ackley. Wait, what's her name? Claudia Ackley. Okay. Same pretty much lawsuit, copied and pasted to British Columbia and with a different guy and with a different government agency, okay? He showed up to defend his lawsuit in court for sure, okay? He was like, I'm seeing this to the end. I'm not gonna pull this case. He defended his lawsuit and said this is totally valid and fair and I have literally standing to do this. And the province's lawyers argued that the case is frivolous and it, quote, lacks an air of reality. Standing says, quote, if Sasquatch exists, and I know they do, and I say they do, and I could take you out and show you one, is that frivolous? He continued, quote, the most man-like primate on the planet exists right now, and I can't get fish and wildlife to do anything. Right. Exists. Okay, you can take us out and show us one? Babes, let's do it, right? I have my camera right here. Let's go. But unfortunately, he couldn't do that. So he does completely, as an aside, unrelated to his lawsuit, he charges people per person $4,800 to take them on week-long expeditions looking for Bigfoot. I'm sure it's unrelated to his lawsuit trying to get the government to like forcefully say that maybe it exists or that it exists in any way, shape, or form, because wow, wouldn't business skyrocket for sure. The court ended up dismissing his suit and saying that's not happening. There isn't evidence, blah, blah, blah. Okay, boring. Let's move on. In Texas, oh yeah, we're going south, baby. Despite the fact that Bigfoot legends and all of that are primarily focused in the north, east, and west, okay, of North America, of the US of A. In Texas, they said, you know what, like, we want to be part of this conversation because when you talk about Bigfoot, you talk about guns, and that's where we come in first, okay? In the audacity to be armed always for stupid reasons. And so in Texas wildlife officials basically opined on their website that it would not be illegal to hunt and kill a Bigfoot and or Sasquatch should one be located in that state, okay? Quote from the Parks and Wildlife Department, if the commission does not specifically list an indigenous non-game species, then the species is considered non-protected non-game wildlife, aka a coyote, bobcat, mountain lion, cottontail rabbit, etc. A non-protected non-game animal may be hunted on private property with landowner consent by any means at any time, and there is no bag limit or possession limit. An exotic animal is an animal that is non-indigenous to Texas. Unless the exotic is an endangered species, then exotics may also be hunted on private property with landowner consent. A hunting license is required. So someone literally sent an email inquiring and they were like, this is our answer. Actually, like, and I hope you literally leak it to the newspapers because we want everyone to know you can absolutely hunt those bitches in Texas. So there's that, babes. There's absolutely that. But unfortunately, for anyone not in Texas, there are laws forbidding you from hunting Sasquatch in other places, okay? The best known Sasquatch Protection Ordinance is one in Washington. It is the Emergency Sasquatch Protection Ordinance, I swear to God, of Skamania County, Washington. Passed in 1969. It makes it a felony to kill a Sasquatch, punishable by a $10,000 fine and up to 5 years in jail. Reportedly, that was reduced to a misdemeanor in 1984, at which time a, quote, Sasquatch refuge was also created in the county. I'm not joking. Neither ordinance was actually codified, but it appears that they were indeed adopted and seem to still be in effect. So like codified versus adopted, you can technically point to it and say this is still law, but it isn't actually like printed in every single, I guess, like yearly code of ordinances that the county like adopts and can use to adopt, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The county did adopt a new code in 1979. So if that replaced all prior ordinances, then the prior Sasquatch ordinance was out. But if it's simply an add-on and if it doesn't actually make any amendments to the prior ordinance that was passed that makes it a felony to kill Sasquatch, then absolutely it's a crime. And certain wildlife organizations in Washington and in Skamania County have pointed to this as being valid and fair and actually like, yes, this is a thing. Okay. Like we pinky promise and we swear. We swizzy swear. The purpose behind these laws was actually to protect the safety and well-being of persons living or traveling in these areas when a Sasquatch is, quote, sighted. Basically, a lot of very well-armed scientific investigators and casual hunters were going out in the wilderness in this county and shooting at shit. Like literally anything large and moving, which like literally can be any hunter like dressed up in fatigues and things like hikers, you can gather. Okay. So they were like, hey, so we know that you're not like because you know, you walk up to them and be like, why the fuck are you shooting random shit? And they're like, I'm hunting a Sasquatch and that's not illegal. Yeah, they're like, it is illegal because whatever fucking fantasy land that you're living in, we're making it illegal because you're literally shooting at fucking random people. And they were like, fuck. So if you're hunting for Sasquatch, that's totally fine. And every website for this county and pretty much every county in Washington, pretty much, especially the remote ones, are like encouraging people. They're like, it's illegal to shoot Sasquatch, but we encourage you to shoot them with a camera. Shoot some photos because we want tourists to come here and hunt for Sasquatch, okay? So you're allowed to hunt for Sasquatch to just like maybe like high five him, dab him up, him or her or they up, non-binary queen, king that they are, and take a photo, take a pic. But you can't actually shoot them because people were literally getting fucking shot. Perfect. So that was the reason behind it. It's not completely crazy. So I can imagine why it would still be in effect, like especially if someone were booked because they shot someone and they were like, I thought they were Bigfoot. It's like, okay, well, regardless, like that's a felony. So XOXO gossip girl. There have been other cases of this all over. There is one in California in 2025. Actually, there are exciting developments. All right, after the late Claudia's lawsuit. All right. I don't know if it's related to it, unrelated, whatever. Her lawsuit was filed in 2018. Now we skip to 2025. There is indeed California's Assembly Bill 666, completely irrelevant to the devil. I personally enjoy the number 6 because that's my birthday. I was born on the 26th of November, Sagittarius rise. But it would be funny if people were like, the Sasquatch is the devil, right? Because of this number. But I just think that shit's so funny. Which would make, okay, this Assembly Bill 666, which would make the creature known as Bigfoot the official state cryptid. Cryptid. If you didn't know what a cryptid is, a cryptid is a creature whose existence is suggested by folklore, eyewitness accounts, or local legends, but is not scientifically proven. Loving that because this is a fucking cryptid. You're right, California. Make a state cryptid, right? We have a state flower, we have a state animal, we have a state flag. Let's make a state cryptid. Why not, right? I mean, are you kidding me? If I was a legislator and I'm not really doing anything else because really you're getting nothing fucking else done, I would just be putting shit like this on the floor with all my other normal serious stuff. I'd be like, by the way, yeah, you want to say no to this? You want to tell your children at home that you're saying no to this? Yeah, good luck, okay? This was introduced in February of 2025, and the sponsor of the bill has since found time to amend the bill, adding 13 paragraphs worth of legislative findings and declarations to justify what would become Government Code Section 425.18, quote, Bigfoot is the official state cryptid. The bill was re-referred to committee on April 1st, and when I clicked on it, as far as I can see, I really do think that this is going to be law. It was amended in Assembly March 28th, 2025, California Legislature 2025-2026 regular session, introduced by Assembly Member Rogers. I think it's going to be in. So there you have it. We're going to have a state cryptid, baby. There, look it up yourself. It is, again, Assembly Bill number 666. Loving that. Next case. Back in 2019, Kentucky sources report that somebody took a shot at Bigfoot in Mammoth Cave National Park on July 31st. Or at least that's what he claimed. When a camper confronted the shooter, he said that the strange man claimed he had just seen Bigfoot pop out from behind his tent and had fired to scare it away. Authorities found no trace of Bigfoot, so it obviously worked. Next case. This one is called The Goat Man. And just get ready to giggle, okay? It's from 2012, dear God. Quote, I thought I wanted answers, said Cody Creighton, who discovered Goat Man roaming the wilds of Utah on July 15th. But I was naive. I should have left well enough alone. Now, I just want the mystery back. You can guess where this is going. Cody Creighton, at the time that he had given that quote, just a few weeks prior, had photographed a large animal that looked like a very, very big goat in the mountains near Ogden, Utah. He was hiking. He wanted to take some great photos, and he thought that he was taking a photo of some creature, some unidentified thing. He was going to be everywhere. His photos were going to be everywhere, that's for sure. He froze when he saw this thing, and the thing froze too. And he captured some shots, which I will put up on this video, and you can see what he was seeing and why he might have thought that this was serious, right? And why he might have wanted to get some answers, and why he did indeed call authorities, because he thought, let's get to the bottom of this. And his quote that I just read to you was him having so many fucking regrets, because what the fuck are people doing? Because indeed, spoiler, it was just some dude. His disappointment stems from the fact that someone had contacted the State Division of Wildlife Resources in Utah and revealed that the creature Creighton saw was not, in fact, a mysterious cryptid some had compared to the legendary Bigfoot. It was just some 57-year-old dude from California in a goat suit. The man in the goat suit, who was referred to as Goat Man, was spotted July 15th, 2012 by Cody Creighton. He spotted what appeared to be a man in a goat suit trailing behind a herd of goats on his hands and knees. According to Creighton, the man froze when he noticed someone watching him, either unsure what to do next or trying to look more like a goat. And he sat like this position, the photo that I'm showing you, which is so fucking weird. The Goat Man sat on the hill for several minutes. After a while, Goat Man got back down on his hands and knees and hurried to catch up with the rest of the herd. All of this, however, was perfectly legal, if you were curious. It is a third-degree felony in Utah to steal a goat suit, but only if the goat is still wearing it. It's also illegal to kill or wantonly destroy a species of protected goat, but Goat Man was not seen to be harming any goats. Yes, that includes in the way that you're thinking, all right? It's of course illegal in Utah. I mean, Utah gets pretty wild, right? With the culty shit, okay? Whatever. But it is still illegal there to do what some of you are thinking that Goat Man had in mind, which was to maybe have relations with one of these goats. Disgusting, disgusting, disgusting. We can stop talking about it now, okay? Utah forbids doing that with any, quote, live, non-human vertebrate creature. So that would mean that invertebrates are fair game, which would include bees. To each their own, right? Oh, Jesus. But again, no evidence at all that Goat Man was doing anything other than observing these particular vertebrate creatures, goats. Officials said he could simply be a wildlife enthusiast, which again is not illegal depending on what they meant by that. Basically, officials were trying to get to the bottom of this, okay? They were like, hey, like, does anyone know what the fuck is this about? Okay, is this a person? Like, what's going on? Because they were concerned that because hunting season was approaching, this probably person could be mistaken for a boat. Now, the photographer, based on his quote, our boy Cody Creighton was like very much thinking that he was photographing something that like had never existed. But obviously he regretted like pursuing this further later on, because the way that they found out that this was some dude, okay, a 57-year-old dude from California, was because that dude, the goat man in the goat suit, on his own called this center in Utah because a friend said, hey man, it appears to be that they're looking for somebody in Utah that does the same weirdo shit that you do. And for whatever reason, he's telling his friends that he's doing this weirdo fucking shit, and his friends are still friends with him. Listen, I don't judge for a lot of things, but I just... Is this like another category of furry that I'm not aware of? Is there some convention I should be going to avoid, right? Avoiding, really? No, there's no going in this, all right? There is only stopping and reversing extremely quickly. Not because I think that these things are necessarily... Right? It's like, it's not illegal. It's not really hurting anyone to be like dressing up in your goat fuck ass suit and prancing around and literally acting like a goat or whatever kind of animal. It's because like the things that people do that are kind of in this category sometimes toe the line of like the innocent, and then all of a sudden it just gets weird, right? Shit gets bizarre. Shit gets mentally ill. Shit starts feeding into like some, like it just gets into weirdo shit. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? Like, I'm not insane, all right? I'm not crazy, I'm not insane. But whatever, okay? Maybe I shouldn't judge off of the first bah. The man, who understandably did not give his name, but apparently gave his age, not really sure why, reportedly called the division, the Utah Division's conservation outreach manager, on the, quote, advice of a friend from Utah. So this is worldwide, baby. This is global. Like, there's a whole network of people who dress up like goats. Perfect. And provided information, quote, that substantiates he was the person in the goat suit photographed by Cody Creighton on July 15th, 2012. Quote, he gave me details that convinced me it was him. Phil Douglas, the division's conservation outreach manager, said, which immediately conjures up every Law and Order episode in which a suspect knows details only the person in the goat suit would know. According to Douglas, the man said he was a hunter who had traveled to Utah to, quote, test out a goat suit in preparation for an archery hunt of mountain goats in Canada next year. He found out about Utah, Douglas said. Apparently someone's plans to conceal the state had been foiled, like the state itself, like putting Utah behind a curtain. Okay. He learned that it was fairly easy to get close to goats in Utah for training purposes. Why the goats of Utah are easier to get close to than other goats, he didn't say. I am intrigued. If I have listeners in from Utah, this is not necessarily a call to start racing towards your local goat farm, especially in Ogden, Utah. My aunt lives there. Love you so much, Rochelle. What a gal. I would like to know some theories at the very least. Or maybe his suit was just really good. I don't fucking please. So off he went to Utah with his goat suit. If you're wondering, this was crafted from a hooded painter's suit covered with polar fleece for fur. The man also, quote, wore a hat backward, pulling the brim down to his chin to look like a billy goat's beard. I can't even picture that. So I'm just going to take Goatman's word for it, because it appears he's being pretty honest up to this point. This may not have been his own invention, because the man told Douglas that, quote, there are small groups of hunters who also wear goat suits to get close to goats and presumably kill them. Do goats really run and hide that quickly, where, like, wild goats, where, well, I'm like thinking like these mountain goats, but wouldn't those be like protected? Like the ones that are like balancing off the side of a fucking rock face, you know what I mean? Like on Nat Geo all the time with like two little fucking hoof little like lips, right? On the edge of this fuck ass mountain that's completely vertical, and they're just like chilling, like, what do you want? Like, what are you gonna say about it? And these mountain lions are trying to get him, and they're like, nope, can't come up here, can you? Like that seems to me like the type of animal that would be protected regardless of where you're hunting them. Does someone want to clock in? I would love to clock in for you, but I feel like Google can do the job for us. If any of you give me some chat GBT ass fucking paragraph in the comments, I will actually be annoyed. Like, use Google and an actual source that's fucking verifiable. Thank you so fucking much. Let's continue on with the story. The author of one article wrote this paragraph that needs to be read. So here it is. I would very much like to see one of these groups patiently stalking an unsuspecting herd of mountain goats or whatever other live, non-human vertebrate creature they might be craving at the time, and wait until they are just outside bowshot to spook their prey with a bullhorn. Warning, goat men are approaching. Do not be fooled by that backwards hat thing. Then I would flee, because goat men probably also have rifles. Really astute observation, and if he would like to meet up to do this, I would love to. Obviously, this article was written 13 years ago, but listen, that offer stands, okay? If you would like another crusader for the free goats from goat men who are scary and kill them, group, conservation group, wildlife group, fuck PETA. I'm joining the goat men, the anti-goat men, the goat woe man, okay? I'm not dressing up though. No, thank you. I'm just going to ruin their ruse. That's my plan. That's the type of jobless, unemployed ass activity I would love to get into. Some people are jobless and smoke weed. Like, I would love to be jobless and flying to Utah to like scare some grown men, 57-year-old California dudes in fucking goat suits. Like, explain that to your fucking group chat, right? Yeah, that's the shit that makes you jealous of unemployed people. You're like, damn, that shit looks fun. That shit looks fun as fuck, okay? Although Creighton believed Goat Man knew he had been spotted, he told Douglas that he had actually no idea he was being watched, let alone photographed. So on the phone when he called and was like, hey, like it was me, like it was totally me, he had no idea he was being watched and was just acting like a fucking goat. Like, he was just like, I was just like goating it. Okay, well, you did a great job, kinda, I guess, but like it kind of did seem like you knew you were being photographed. He told Douglas that he shot video of himself near the goat herd, frequently had to adjust the hood of his costume, and had to take breaks from crawling on all fours, which is presumably what he was doing when Creighton took this picture. If the Goat Man is one of my listeners, I would love to talk to you more. Actually, just do send me an email, right? Give me a longer explanation so that we can get the inside scoop. But know that I think is crazy unless you tell me otherwise. There are quite literally thousands of other cases involving Bigfoot that I could go on and on and on about. And I'm going to link one article to you that lists some of them. Some of them we've covered, others we have not, including one about people suing each other about Bigfoot research, right? Being like, that's my research. No, it's mine. Again, about an imaginary fantasy thing, which is perfect, amazing, gorgeous. Another that involves a strip club. I think it has to do with the names. The right to dress as Bigfoot or Yoda or a pirate for performance art purposes. You get it. Okay, it gets crazy. And we are running out of time. And again, my headache is blazing. So I love you guys. This little bang that's curling makes me feel like a man with like those curly mustaches. That's what it's giving a little bit. Kind of loving, kind of cunt, kind of cute. I love you guys. Be safe. Have a great weekend if it's about to be your weekend. If it's about to be your work week, have a great life. This has been an episode of Rebuttal. We will be back next time to talk about something a little more serious than Bigfoot, but still fucking interesting. Trust me on that one, you guys, okay? I'm already prepping for it. I'm filming tomorrow. Let's fucking ride. Love you.